Leonard? Is that you?
Death to all who turn their backs on God!
Is every person here a mental case? Well, I guess you're not a person anyway.
I am a PlayStation trophy hunter. At the time of writing the script, I have 105 platinum trophies. I'm also a huge fan of survival horror games. Resident Evil, Alien Isolation, Dead Space, Evil Within, smaller indie games, doesn't matter, I love them all. Even some of the less popular games like Callisto Protocol and Alone in the Dark. But for some reason, I just never really got into the Silent Hill series. So for this video, I wanted to change that. I decided to get the platinum trophy on every Silent Hill game possible. Currently, the only Silent Hill games with PlayStation trophies are Silent Hills 2 and 3 HD, Silent Hill Downpour, Silent Hill 2 Remake, and Silent Hill Book of Memories. Silent Hill Homecoming is on PlayStation 3, and I bought it and played it for this video, but for some reason it doesn't have PlayStation trophies. I'm still going to talk about it later on. So the plan for this video is to talk about each game, give my opinion on the story, the mechanics, the etceteras, talk about the difficult trophies and any strategies I used to get them, and then give my final thoughts on the game. And if you are a hardcore fan of these games, please keep in mind this is my first time playing most of these. There's a very good chance I'm going to have a different opinion than you, so feel free to tell me how wrong I am in the comments down below. I'm also going to talk about these games in the order I completed them. I played these games in an unconventional order, and so I'm going to talk about them in that same way. Okay, with that said, let's talk about the first game I completed for this video.
I got a letter. The name on the envelope said Mary. My wife's name. Couldn't possibly be true. That's what I keep telling myself. Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago. So then why am I looking for her?
Silent Hill 2 Remake follows James Sunderland, a normal, everyday man who receives a letter from his deceased wife. In the letter, his wife claims to be waiting for him in the titular town of Silent Hill. Over the course of the game, James faces off against the many horrors of Silent Hill, including gruesome monsters, puzzling puzzles, depressing side characters, and an incredibly oppressive atmosphere. I had never played the original Silent Hill 2, so I was going to this more or less completely blind. And let me be upfront about it, this game was, without a doubt, an incredible experience. I loved basically everything about this game. The story, the combat, the puzzles, the atmosphere, the music. My god, the music is just so damn good. I enjoyed Angela, Eddie, and Maria. They're all well-acted, incredibly interesting characters with a lot of depth. Maria, in particular, just brings so much to every scene she's in. Everything she says and does just has so much weight to it. Her character is just insanely good. But an absolute standout for me was the protagonist, James. James is an incredibly complex character. He's deep, he's real, he's flawed. He's the perfect representation of a good man pushed beyond its limits. And the Stillness ending alone catapulted him up to my top 5 favorite protagonists of all time. Now, I know a lot of fans of the original game have many criticisms, and after having gone back and played the original Silent Hill 2 for the purpose of this video, I honestly disagree with most of them. But there is one issue I do agree with. The prison and labyrinth sections are both pretty long and very intense. They are also back-to-back with no real breaks between them. Individually, these areas are perfect, but maybe send us back up to explore the town for a little bit after defeating Abstract Daddy, and give the labyrinth a new entrance. And maybe we could go into the basement of Baldwin Manor to reach the labyrinth instead. I feel like OG fans would really appreciate that since they both have ties to Maria.
All you care about is that dead wife of yours. You couldn't care less about me, could you?
No, I just...
Then stay with me. Don't leave me alone again.
As for the Platinum Trophy, The big standouts here are to get 7 of the 8 different endings and gather all the various collectibles in the game. These were all very simple to do by following online guides, although the collectibles one was monotonous, which is expected for these kinds of trophies. Overall, I absolutely loved my time with Silent Hill 2 Remake. This is more or less my idea of a perfect survival horror game. I'm giving this a 10 out of 10, and I highly recommend it to anyone who likes good video games. I could spend this entire video gushing about how much I liked Silent Hill 2 Remake, but that's not why we're here, so let's move on to the next game on the list. One quick note before I continue. While I did play and complete all these games on legitimate console hardware, I don't currently have any way to record footage from my PS3. The footage you'll be seeing from this point on is from a PS3 emulator running on my PC so I could record the footage. Every emulated game is being run from my legally purchased game disc. Anything and everything I have to say about a game will be about the physical version of the game, and not the emulated experience, which can be different. Silent Hill 3 follows Heather Mason, a teenage girl who is stalked by a creepy cult called the Order. Heather learns that she cannot escape from her past, and eventually heads to Silent Hill to confront her destiny. Much like the previous games, Heather fights a variety of monsters, completes obtuse puzzles, and is subjected to the most continuously oppressive atmosphere of any of these games.
I knew it.
Now, before I talk about the game itself, let me put in a warning for any Silent Hill 3 superfans. I, as a newcomer to your beloved series, am about to be critical of this game. Just remember this is only my opinion and yada yada. Okay, here we go. I had a hard time enjoying Silent Hill 3. I didn't care for a lot of the areas you visit in this game. The first area of the game, the mall, kinda sucks. The subway I like, but then you go into the tunnels and the tunnels kinda suck on a blind playthrough. Then you go into the construction site and it also kinda sucks on a blind playthrough. And none of these areas are even in the town of Silent Hill. They're just places Heather sort of ends up in on her way home. Eventually you do make it to Silent Hill and you can't explore it at all. You just immediately go to the hospital, which is copy-pasted from Silent Hill 2, and then you go to the Lakeside Amusement Park, which is actually very good. I like this area. But then you're at the church, and the church is fine, I guess. Now, every area in this game feels perfectly fine once you've played the game a dozen times, but judging from a first-time player experience, there is just a lot to be desired. There are a ton of awful enemies in this game. The dogs and pendulums are bad enough, but the gulpers have to be the single worst enemy in this entire series. I absolutely hate these goddamn things. Heather as a character is fine, I guess. I didn't find her story all that interesting compared to James, and she sometimes gives off Marvel movie energy. The side characters in this game are just kind of there. You could completely take them out and the game would be no different. I also found it really weird that the antagonist, Claudia, can control the Silent Hill effect or something. In the other games, Silent Hill is more akin to a force of nature. Something unexplainable, something that happens for a reason we don't understand. But then Claudia is just like, hey, Silent Hill monster, go attack Heather. And it totally does what she says. I don't know why this is a thing, and I don't like it.
I know everything. I know about your past, too.
Then tell me what's going on.
You don't even know that?
That's why I'm asking. If you know everything, then tell me how I can put an end to this.
Not yet. Why not enjoy yourself a bit longer?
Enjoy? I feel like I'm going crazy.
Now, as for the trophies, easily the most time-consuming one was the UFO ending, which requires getting a ton of kills across multiple full playthroughs to unlock Sexy Beam, and then getting a bunch of kills with Sexy Beam before reaching Heather's home. This wasn't too hard to do with the unlimited SMG, but it was a bit of a grind. I do want to shout out how many bonus weapons and items you can unlock in this game. There's quite a few weapons and a ton of different clothing. I think it's really cool and a shame none of the other games went this hard on bonus content. I didn't enjoy my first playthrough of Silent Hill 3, but I did grow to appreciate the game more on repeated playthroughs. I completely understand why this is the favorite in the series for so many fans, but based on my own personal enjoyment, I'm going to score this one a 7 out of 10. Silent Hill 2, the OG, follows James Sunderland. This is the exact same synopsis as Silent Hill 2 Remake, obviously, so let's just skip this part and get into my thoughts about the game.
Yeah, I'm James.
Angela.
Angela, okay. I don't know what you're planning, but there's always another way.
Really?
I'll be honest, I didn't have high hopes for the OG Silent Hill 2 after having played Silent Hill 3. But thankfully this game is very, very good. Pretty much everything I loved about the remake is still here in its low poly glory, but experiencing the different area arrangements and puzzles made it feel fresh again. The spooky atmosphere is still very present and very good even with the aging graphics. This is probably how it feels to be an OG fan playing the remake, but in reverse, I guess. Now, as a fan of the remake, I have to say I think James's performance here is just not for me.
What's a little girl like you doing here anyway?
He's got this goofy voice and line delivery that I just don't vibe with. Also, I don't really like Maria's portrayal here. She lacks the charm and chemistry that makes her so good in the remake. I want to shout out how absurdly difficult the lying figures get when they're crawling on the floor. Also, extra special shout out to the awful feature where leaving your inventory or entering a room causes the screen to fade in. But enemies are active during this time and can cheap shot you. Very cool. As for things I think the OG did better, the prison and labyrinth sections are both much shorter, and as a result the pacing just feels better. I also really liked how fast the game is once you figure out the route and can just run past most enemies. It makes repeated playthroughs quite fun to master, and that's something kinda missing from the remake.
Killing a person ain't no big deal. Just put the gun to their head, pow.
As for the Platinum Trophy, the far and away most difficult trophy here is getting the green hyper spray. If you're a fan of this game, I'm sure you're nodding your head in agreement right now because wow. As a trophy hunter, I've completed a ton of difficult challenges in the past. And now, this trophy is easily within my top 10, maybe top 5 hardest trophies I've ever acquired. To get the green hyper spray, you need to finish a run with a 10-star rating. To get a 10-star rating, you need to do the following. First, complete a separate run for each of the 6 different endings in the game. You can't make a save near the end to get multiple endings quickly, they each need to be their own save file. I learned this one the hard way. Next, you need to complete a run while doing all of the following. Play on hard combat difficulty. Play on hard and extra riddle puzzle difficulty. Kill 75 enemies with melee attacks or finishers. Kill 75 enemies with guns without using any finishers. Receive less than 500 points of damage, which is essentially 5 full heals worth of health. Pick up 140 items plus all bonus items. This one's a bit complex, but let's just leave it at that. Complete the game in under 3 hours, complete the game with 2 saves or fewer, and complete the boat section in under 1 minute 20 seconds. This was an absolute monster of a challenge to complete, requiring careful planning and mastery over the entire game. The damage requirement meant I needed to play nearly perfectly for the first 2/3 of the game. The item and kill requirements meant I couldn't run past any enemies during that time. And the save requirement meant any mistakes I made resulted in a reset. I even had to change the control scheme because the default controls made this challenge literally impossible. There was one attempt where I finished with a few too many points of damage taken. There was another run where I was 2 seconds too slow on the boat. I can go on and on, but you get the idea. This trophy was insanely hard. It tested your mastery of the game, and I loved it. I've really enjoyed Silent Hill 2. It's a fantastic experience that I think is worth playing even with the existence of the remake. I'm going to score this a 9 out of 10 because I like the remake slightly more, but honestly, both games are incredible.
Did I wake you, Pendleton? Come on, rise and shine, Cupcake, you know the drill.
Silent Hill Downpour follows Murphy Pendleton, a prisoner who finds himself in Silent Hill after a bus crash. Who exactly is Murphy and why was he in prison? These are all questions the game will answer, sort of. Murphy must survive this suburban interpretation of Silent Hill, including monsters that are mostly just weird-looking people, unskippable cutscenes, and side quests with underwhelming rewards.
Pretty impressive, ain't it? You might not guess by looking at it, but this place used to be filled with all kinds of visitors. Moms and dads and little kids and... Yeah, it was a really nice place.
I'm sorry. You are?
I apologize for letting some of my thoughts slip into the synopsis. To be transparent, I had already owned and played Silent Hill Downpour prior to making this video. I played through it once 12 years ago, found it entirely uninteresting, and didn't play it again until now. Downpour starts off strong with a compelling intro, but once Murphy makes it to the town proper, the game loses all logic and turns into this sloppy mess of an experience. This game has a weapon break mechanic, and guns aren't permanent equipment, so you'll have to keep swapping your weapons out. And to make matters worse, you're only allowed to hold 2 weapons at a time. I absolutely hate this. Fighting enemies in Downpour is also somehow worse than any other Silent Hill game I've played. Enemies will gain hyper armor if you hit them too many times. You can block enemy attacks, but it doesn't do much except damage your weapon. And you can't dodge like you can in Homecoming. Murphy also runs like he's in slow motion, so enemies can and will catch you if you try to run past them. Downpour's defining characteristic was its somewhat explorable overworld map. On the one hand, the game's layout compels you to search for loot and side quests. On the other hand, you have infinitely respawning enemies paired with limited health and ammo. Some of the side quests are interesting, but only 1 or 2 of them give a worthwhile reward. This one literally gives you no reward other than an achievement. And none of them feel like they actually belong in a Silent Hill game. My biggest gripe with the game is the karma system and what it changes. The karma system not only impacts which ending you get, but also changes what Murphy did in the past. This means that in a good karma playthrough, Murphy basically did nothing wrong, which makes a lot of the story moments in this game meaningless. Oh, also, the performance on PS3 is absolutely horrendous. It stutters and chokes and sometimes just freezes for a few seconds. It's probably the reason why they made Murphy run as slow as he does. Silent Hill Homecoming, which released on the PS3 4 years before this one, ran significantly better.
Came through hell and high water to get here because you called me. Now cut the bullshit, because I don't have time for this.
Chill out, man. If you don't keep your voice down, you're gonna get us both in trouble. You do not want that.
As for the trophies, there were 2 standouts here. The first and longest being the Collectibles trophy, which required following a guide and was pretty boring as these typically are. The second was a trophy for killing 10 weeping bats. This is hard to do in a normal playthrough because there's very few bats in the entire game, and the game has a glitch where sometimes kills just don't count. Luckily, I found a guide online on how to manipulate one of these bats to continuously respawn, and was able to get the trophy after a short while. Overall, I don't think Downpour is very good. There's some genuinely cool moments and ideas sprinkled in here, but the game just isn't fun to play, and the unskippable cutscenes makes replaying it a chore. In fact, this is the only game on this list that felt worse with repeated playthroughs. I'm giving this one a 4 out of 10.
Son, you still don't get it. It doesn't matter what you want.
Bad dream?
Silent Hill Homecoming follows Alex Shepard, an Army veteran returning home from the hospital, only to find his town is under siege by nightmarish monsters. Alex uses his combat skills to battle the monsters, fumble his way through simple puzzles, and uncover the truth about his family.
Mom.
It's no secret that Silent Hill Homecoming is considered by many to be the worst mainline Silent Hill game, with a large focus on combat and a story lacking any and all subtlety. It's no wonder why the fanbase have disowned this game. But here's the thing. I actually really enjoy Silent Hill Homecoming. It's true, this game is a bad Silent Hill game, but it plays pretty much exactly like a good Resident Evil game, and I'm a big fan of Resident Evil. I really vibed with the melee combat, especially later on when you fight enemies that can also block and counter. The combat does get a bit messy when you're fighting more than one enemy, and for some reason guns feel really bad to use. It's hard to explain, but guns are just really janky in this game. The game's pacing is tight, with very few sequences that drag on for too long. And best of all, the game's performance is very good for a PS3 game. Significantly better than Downpour, which I played just before this one. Easily the best part of this game for me was the boss fights. The Scarlet boss fight has to be the best boss fight in the series, it's just so damn good. Story-wise, this game shares a lot in common with Silent Hill 3. There's a large focus on the Order and religion and family. The church level from 3 is also the final level here in Homecoming. For me, the story had a few too many different threads. I would have preferred if it focused more on Alex and left the cult stuff more of a mystery. The naughty nurses and Pyramid Head both make a return in this game. The nurses are actually really well done and work like they do in the movie. It's creepy and cool and probably my favorite take on the nurses in any of these games. Pyramid Head, however, has no business being here. He was personal to James's story, and a brand new monster specific to Alex would have made much more sense. Thankfully, Pyramid Head is more of a cameo.
Check it out first.
Shit, we're not going that way.
As I said at the start of this video, Silent Hill Homecoming doesn't have any trophies on PS3 for some reason. And honestly, I'm very disappointed because I would have loved to add this one to my collection. It's time to rate this one, and I know fans are going to disagree with me on this. If I were to dock points because this game doesn't feel like a true Silent Hill game, I would give this a 5 out of 10. But giving this a score strictly based on how much I enjoyed the game itself, I would give this a 7 out of 10. Just like the Silent Hill games, I'm giving you the choice in your ending. Do you think I'm scoring it a 5 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10? Either way, I definitely think this game is at least better than Downpour. The last game on the list is Silent Hill Book of Memories. I am going to be quick with this one because I had a hard time recording footage, and also I just don't have a lot to say. I bought and played Book of Memories on my PS Vita. I played it for about 8 hours and made it to the 4th boss, but I didn't complete it, and I'll explain why. This is a pretty basic dungeon crawler that features monsters from Silent Hill. The story isn't very good, and the gameplay is decent for what it is. It gets very repetitive after a while, and the difficulty spikes hard after the 3rd boss. Even still, I would have stuck with it to get the Platinum Trophy, but this game breaks my one golden rule: it has multiplayer-only trophies, some of which require 3 other players to get. So unfortunately, I had to skip this one. Please feel free to call me a fraud in the comments down below. Wow, this video took me much longer to complete than I was expecting. But even if nobody watches this video, I'm glad I did this because I really enjoyed what Silent Hill has to offer. This is an incredibly unique game series that offers an experience like no other. Although I haven't played every Silent Hill game ever, I've played enough and enjoyed enough to consider myself a fan for life. Maybe I'll go back and check out the other games I still haven't played, or I can just wait for their inevitable remakes. I'd like to hear your thoughts about Silent Hill as well. Did I treat Silent Hill 3 unfairly? Did Konami pay me off to say positive things about Homecoming? Are there any other green hyperspray achievers out there watching this? 10-star gang, make yourself known if you're out there. If you like this video, give it a like so I know to do more like this. And if you want to see more content from me, consider subscribing. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.